So I've been in industry over 20 years, and that's as much as time as I can remember. I started out in China over 20 years ago doing localization, culturalization, game design for MMORPGs, which are the worst thing for Scottish people to ever try and say. Games I will never ever play as well, they were so boring. But I'm still on their books. I never actually left, so I'm probably IGG's longest ever member of staff, I think. But a quick vox pops. Here, how many people are Scottish? Oh, you're not sure? Okay, well, you're Scottish. So this is a pared down version of a talk I did at DevCon 2 years ago. And I travel a lot for work, I talk at a lot of conferences. Generally, I am the only Scottish person at any of these events. That sucks ass. Also, fun fact, I have a crippling fear of microphones. So this is fucking awesome. And Pepsi Max makes me burp like a mother fluffer. So you're in for a treat. So when I did this talk at DevCon, and I've done it in a couple of other places, and it's more focused on cultural heritage, using games to preserve our heritage, to share our heritage, to do it with sovereignty and respect, and why we should do that. I generally choose Scots culture as the example, because I know the only person in the room that I'm pissing off is myself. Slightly different story tonight, so I'm sorry about that. So yeah, how need to do Scots in games? Where'd you click it? Yes. So, so why use digital games to preserve cultural heritage? So games are an immersive experience. We all know about the flow state. We all know about being in that sitting. You've got the brand new Silent Hill out. You sit down to play it. If anyone of you have managed to afford Silent Hill, the new one, fuck you all. But you've got the game, you start playing, and then you look up and it's like, how is it nighttime? You've been in that immersive state. You've been in the flow. So you can experience historical and cultural context firsthand. If I give a kid a book about ancient Arabian culture, they're not going to open that up and read it. However, they will play the heck out of Assassin's Creed and learn all of that lore, all of that backstory. So this is the immersive experience. It's accessibility. It's a way to reach a global audience, making cultural heritage accessible to people worldwide. As I said, I travel a lot, I speak at a lot of conferences, and I'm generally the only Scottish person. Oh my God, you're Scottish and I can understand you. Fuck off. Do you make games in Scotland? GTA? No, that's American. Mm-mm. Yeah. So this is part of what we do through games. We share our culture. We use this as a platform to hopefully authentically share our heritage, our stories. A very good band, Therapy, once said, "Happy people have no stories." That's why games designers make the best stories. We're all deeply, deeply unhappy, but our stories are awesome. And this makes it accessible to people all over the world. We do it in a way that isn't forcing education down someone's neck. It's almost teaching someone sneakily by proxy, like hiding broccoli in chocolate, I don't know. Engagement in education, so it's an interactive platform to engage users in learning about cultural heritage, but again, in a way that isn't forced, in a way that is interactive, that you're almost learning by osmosis. So, benefits of using digital games. We're going to get onto the spicy stuff in a wee bit. Please don't hunt me down. So, interactive learning. Games promote active participation, making the learning process dynamic and memorable. not only in multiplayer, also in single players, we said with Assassin's Creed, people are learning more about different cultures, different histories, different languages. As Fergus said, I have a long resume, not because I keep getting fired, but because I like to do different things. And one of the many hats I have worn is cultural sensitivity expert. So I've worked on quite a few games. The last one was in America, and it was a AAA. I have an NDA, but the game's not working out. It's been sunset, so fuck it. So it was with a 2K studio called 31st Union. Apex Legends director Michael Chu was like the lead narrative guy. I would never play that game. But they did have a Scottish character, and they brought me in to make that character real, make him not stereotypical, which is the spicy bit we're going to get onto in a little bit. And it was really nice. It's actually now been sunset because, unfortunately, in America, anything with DEI isn't really acceptable. So using games to promote this sort of dynamic, memorable learning and using it for cultural preservation. One of the characters in that game is a male to female, two-spirit trans Indigenous person of First Nations, Turtle Island, Canada. And I actually brought my friend in to be the cultural advisor for that. And that was a really big thing to have. And when she saw the character that was created, that she helped advise on, she broke down in tears because she had never seen her story or her person ever represented, not even in games, in any media whatsoever. That's the power and responsibility we have in games. And for her to then have this game sunset because an orange walloper doesn't necessarily like the idea of people being represented, unless you're very, very Aryan, was really heartbreaking. And this is what we can use games for, to preserve that culture, preserve the traditions that a lot of people around the world, due to some history, colonization, they've had their languages, their traditions taken away from them by force. Scotland, Scots Gaelic, there was a bit of history happened there. We weren't really allowed to speak it anymore. In about 7-8 years, without a lot more work, Scots Gaelic could be deed. I speak Doric, which is, I speak Gaelic, but I also speak Doric, because I'm from near the Highlands, Aberdeenshire. Our language was preserved, first off, because no one can understand us. They had no idea what we were saying. Secondly, because it's the language of the farmers, and no one bothers with farmers. Just grow our potatoes and get on. So you never see these things, you never hear these things. So it's the preservation of these languages, these cultures, these traditions, that a lot of it is often just oral history. And when the knowledge holders pass, that history goes. Think of great-grandmother's soup recipe. It was never written down. Awareness and appreciation. Games can increase awareness and foster appreciation for different cultures among players. It gives you that exact experience of walking in someone else's shoes, of going through the struggle that someone else may have. Think about this war of mine. It's a brilliant game. It's not fun. You're not going to play it and laugh, but you are going to experience what a lot of people in the world have gone through. Indica. Again, not a fun game, but you will experience something that is completely out of your ken, out of your normal experience. Now, are we getting onto the spicy bit? No, we're still in safe space. So digital games that have preserved cultural heritage, so Never Alone, highlights the folklore and traditions of the Inupiat people of Alaska. Beautiful, predominantly Indigenous cast, predominantly Indigenous studio devs that created this. It's one of the only ones that actually really made it big. Assassin's Creed series, like detailed historical settings and events providing immersive historical experience. Schools are using these to teach now because of that immersion, creating the sense of excitement and intrigue and willingness to learn for children. You've got something like Viva Piñata, which introduces players to the cultural significance of piñatas in Mexican culture. It's not a very serious game, but you're still learning a very important part about Mexican culture. Now, this next one made me cry. 100%. Still Wakes the Deep. Chinese room, brilliant. Heavily researched, an authentic branching narrative horror set on a northeast Scotland oil rig. Doesn't sound like it should be a good game, but you've got branching narrative horror, that's my jam. But also, my dad worked on a North Sea oil rig. I played this game, this was the stupid part. I played this game about 4 days before the anniversary of his passing. Yeah. whole way through, but that's partly why I cried. The other reason I cried is because I'm playing this game and I'm listening to the accents. I'm like, that boy's from Aberdeen, and he's from that area of Aberdeen. That person's from Glasgow, they're from that, because they've got genuine voice actors. As a Scot, I had never seen myself positively represented in games, nor media. We're going to get onto this one, please don't kill me. There's very, very lazy stereotypes of Scottish people. Yeah, if you haven't seen them, you're about to see them. But the way this game dealt with Scottish people was beautiful. And I know a lot of people that this really emotionally affected us just from that positive representation. And again, like I said, this is the power and the responsibility of gaming and game dev. The other thing, and this speaks to me and to a couple of us, probably the 5 of us left that speak the language, you can play this entirely in Scots Gaelic for no other reason than why not? It's not a marketing ploy. They're not selling more copies of that game because you can play it in Scots Gaelic. I can 100% guarantee that. I didn't even notice until I accidentally, what the fuck, why are they speaking Gaelic? Oh, and that was really awesome to have that level of research and that level of respect for our community. Just beautiful. And so, yay! Yay! Okay, Scots stereotypes. Oh, there's 2 pages of this shit, I'm so sorry. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember that. He was a comedian. See, already I've offended the Scots. Okay. Yeah, he was a comedian. I think he's still alive, I'm not sure. Russ Abbott. And this particular character, his name was C.U. Jimmy. And that's what he did. He did a really bad accent and just fought with people. I'm sick of Scottish stereotypes. As soon as someone buys me another whiskey, I'm going to pick a fight. When everyone knows, unless someone buys me a whiskey, then I'm going to pick a fight. So they should get it right. Get out if you dinna want some rock salt in your garbadines. This is still McDuckland, you lowlander Whiskervilles. Very common things we hear every day growing up. You can buy this on Amazon. Halloween is coming up. Only $12.99. My culture is not your fashion item, sir. Have any of you ever been to GDC? Have you ever been there on the Wednesday? No, all the helpers decide to wear kilts, but not proper kilts. You know when drag queens have like the shake and bake wig? It's the shake and bake kilt. It's made of like thin polyester, they're the wrong length. You can't walk past these people because you'll get static shocks off them. And all of the helpers wear kilts. It's awful, 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 awful. I mean, I actually don't mind Groundkeeper Willie. But stereotypes. Scottish people, we are humorless. We hate other nations. We are alcoholic and violent. Not all of that is true. Dialogue, dialect, strong accent, och, we. I have never said och. I have said ach, and we do say we. I have never in my life, apart from this very moment now, said ochai the new. Yeah, this one. Oh my God, I can understand you. I was with, it was Leishman from Team Terrible, and we were in a bar in San Francisco, and him and I were talking, and the girl next to us was like, oh, I can understand. We both looked at each other, right, okay, fine. You want to listen into our conversation? He went full Dundonian, I went full Aberdonian, and this girl was like, she thought we'd been possessed. It was awesome. So, locations in Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Nahan, Highlands. Cold, vast, open spaces, props, bagpipes, whiskey, haggis, makeup, ginger hair, freckles. I've got the ginger hair, I've never had a freckle in my life. This one irks. Class status, lower class farmers. Where I'm from, the farmers are the richest people because they're making bank. So all the girls wanted to marry a farmer. So it's a totally not true thing. Now we get on to a little bit more spice. Scots in media. I or die. No, thank you. No, thank you. Jimmy Wilson in the darkness. Anyone know his special talent? Fighting and being unintelligible and drunk. Angus McGregor, now, I have been a Scottish woman for almost 50 years, and I have never seen a man do that. I don't know if anyone else can verify, but that seems like you should see a doctor. There's a cream for that. Callum, the Scottish thug in Far Cry 3. He had a terrible backstory, though, so it's fine. Yeah, no, thank you. So, growing up, this is, well, obviously I was a lot older. I am a lot older than you. But this is the kind of thing the rest of the world has seen when they think about Scottish people in media. If we think about Disney films, Uncharted, Journey to the Center of the Earth, The King's Man, all three had the same lazy trope of the Scots thug who was played by someone who wasn't Scottish, butchering our accent, but also drunk, unintelligible, fighting. So this is how other people see us. So when someone says to me, oh my God, I can understand you, it's because that's what they think Scottish people sound like. Dinny do that. Do it as, I can speak very broad Scots, I can speak Doric, I can speak Gaelic, but I choose to speak English with a Scottish accent so that yous can understand me. It's not that difficult. Like, not all of us, no one speaks like that. So, this is what we've come up with. However, I'm not sure the internet's going to work for this, but we can give it a try. Oh, it's racist. So, but there might not be any audio, which is the whole point. Well, lots of Scottish people talking in many different accents. Helicopter with a Scottish accent. Yes, big Scottish bang. That's from the man with the kilt. We will skip that bit then. Go and look at the trailer for Still Wakes the Deep if you've not seen it. If you have seen it or haven't played the game, honestly play the game. As a Scot, it is a beautiful game that reflected my own personal heritage, my own personal culture so deeply. It moved me to tears. And that, like I said, probably the first time I cried in about 48 years. But it is, like I said, this is the power and the responsibility. Okay. So, yeah, consider this when you're working on a game. Accuracy and authenticity, another word we use for this is sovereignty. So sovereignty is when you have people from that culture. And when I say culture, I don't necessarily mean your race or your color. I'm also talking about your sexuality, your neurodivergency, whatever makes you you. These are the things that I refer to as culture. So I'm, as you may have guessed, heavily neurodivergent. So these are the kind of things I would refer to as a culture. So I've got my Scottish culture, I've got my neurodivergent culture, I've got my neurodivergent and Scottish culture. So ensuring cultural representations are accurate and respectful is really important, because if you fuck it up, you're not just upsetting one person, you're upsetting a whole race, a whole culture of people, but also the impact of that. If you think about how having a game that represents a Scottish person in such a positive light made me cry, what's the opposite of that? When someone plays a game or watches a film and sees themselves in this same lazy trope, this negative light, if people kick you down enough, you start to believe it. And this is what we don't want to be doing. So being accurate, being respectful are so important. A very good example of this, there was a game that came out, The Mark of Cree, either The Mark of Cree or Mask of Cree. I don't owe it enough respect to remember the name properly. But the main character was quite obviously Maori. The setting is Maori, he's very obviously Maori, yet they gave him te amoko, which is the female's chin tattoo, which is the tattoo, which is the physical embodiment of her spirit, of her ancestors. It's deeply, deeply spiritual. They were at a press junket, and a Maori representative stood up to ask a question and said, look, why did you do this? This is for women. And that's like quite obviously a man. This is very disrespectful to my culture. Would you mind changing it? And the guy looked up and goes, well, he's obviously not Maori then. Yeah, like in front of hundreds of people. Like, I don't care enough about your culture to make a change. Don't be that person. None of you are, I can tell. You're all beautiful, lovely people who have been intelligent enough to stay until this time to listen to me. So, balancing entertainment and education. This is the whole chocolate-covered broccoli kind of idea. No one wants to play first in maths. It's shit. But it's marginally better than opening a math textbook. No kids going home and playing first in math. It's something that is educational, that someone has gone, let's gamify this by putting in a leaderboard. So that's not good. But also, something as we use Assassin's Creed for an example, that's a game where there is education in there, but it's not forced. It's not like you don't feel like you're actively learning. And games like the Simpsons episode, where Bart Simpson's playing a game and then Lisa tells me then, haha, you're learning history. Good episode, watch it. But resource intensive, developing culturally rich games requires significant time, research, and financial investment. A lot of the Indigenous games that we've seen, and that I showed you a couple of, they will get funding from councils and governments to make the game, to set up a studio. They don't get the money to market the game. That's why a lot of them you've never heard of. So any of the games by Elizabeth Le Ponce, Thunderbird Strikes, beautiful game. She actually had the American law changed because in that game, she's First Nation Métis. You are a Thunderbird, not like Thunderbirds Go, but a Thunderbird, and you are attacking with lightning, fracking and oil. And the president at the time tried to get her under a terrorism act. So they had the laws, all went to court and all that, but the law had to be specified what is terrorism and what isn't terrorism. And I think Beth's argument was, if you can have a game where a man goes around shooting hookers willy-nilly, perhaps my bird shooting an oil tanker that then turns into a lovely tree and flowers might be okay. Katuku Island, based on, yeah. Oh, Elizabeth Lepense, Lepenssee. And the game is called Thunderbird Strike. There's When Rivers Were Trails. A lot of beautiful, beautiful stories. And then Katuku Island, which is, my friend from Maoridom made it, and that tells the story of Maori history. Again, language and culture that was taken away from all of the people, and they're fighting to bring it back. But they're missing like a Rosetta Stone of the middle. You've got the elders who spoke the language but weren't allowed to for fear of death. And you've got the younglings who don't give a they just want to be in urban cities. And so that crossover of where you can get that missing language is a big issue. But always have someone of that culture involved in the design process. Even if it's a point of, I'm making a game about Aberdeenshire farmers. Who do I know that knows Aberdeenshire farmers? And so if you reached out, I would say, oh, well, let me put together a few friends who are farmers, proper tricksters, and show them your game. A lot of the time, people don't necessarily even want money for it. They're just happy to be asked. I mean, obviously, offer them money if you have money. Don't do it for free. But it's to be asked, for people to care enough about your culture, your heritage, whatever aspect of your life is so important. Benefits of using digital games. So cultural identity, preserving heritage, helps maintain and strengthen the identity of a community or a nation. We've seen this with the First Nation games. They are getting the language and the cultures and the traditions back into the hands of the urban youth. One of my friends made a game called Tipi Kaga, which is Lakoshan Sioux. And because they teach by showing, I'll do something, you watch me do it, and then you go ahead and do it yourself. So it's all in Lakoshan. There's a guy singing in the background, an elder, and you put up a teepee, and then you take the teepee down. Or the elder puts up a teepee and puts the teepee down, and then you have to go in and do the same thing. And it's I'm not going to say it's very exciting, but it's gorgeous. And so this is a part of their culture and heritage that they're losing because not many people are putting up teepees anymore. And it's a way of getting that and making it accessible to someone who lives in a city but wants to get back to their roots. Historical continuity, ensuring that future generations can learn and understand their past. If we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. Trump got into power, and then America got him back in again. They didn't learn from their mistake, and things are worse. So learning about what happened in the past can help inform future choices, can help you have a better understanding of who you are, where you're from. This is really important, particularly now, because this has been taken away from a lot of people. And that's a really dangerous time for a lot of people. Diversity and inclusion. Celebrating and preserving diverse cultures fosters mutual respect, understanding among different communities. The idea of walking in someone else's shoes, getting a feel for what it's like to go through someone else's struggles, to have more of an understanding, more empathy. These are words that the other Charly brought in earlier on, empathy is so important, to be able to understand, to identify with, to have a modicum of, I get what you're coming from, or I get why you're angry with whatever. So this is why we can use games, and this is what helps with games, and what being culturally representative in a sovereign way can do. Yeah, so make a change. Q&A if you have any. I have never heard that before in my life. Really? But you're in Scotland, so of course we talk about it.
You see people like, I don't know, in Facebook comments like, oh, we're all Scottish, this is what it's like in Scotland, and they just talk about it a lot. So.
That's because we're awesome and we should talk about being Scottish. No, I mean, honestly, I'm away next week in Helsinki for PGC Helsinki, and every time I do a talk that isn't in Scotland, I always open with, just so you know, my voice sounds funny because I'm Scottish, and if you don't understand me, that's on you. And everyone's like, oh, it's very funny. It's like, but no, actually, it's true. I will anglicize to a point, but I've not heard that. I mean, I have heard many times people ask, oh my God, does Scotland have a games industry? Yeah. Yeah, and I would argue we're the birthplace of European game industry. But I think, so it comes down to tokenism, right? If we're sticking on the subject of Scots, so if you're using a Scottish person or a Scottish story within your game, why are you doing that? Is it integral to the story? Is that the narrative that means something that you really want to share? Or are you just doing it so you can tick a box or get money from a certain area? The Gaelic in Chinese room, it wasn't a box ticky thing. I don't think it had any impact on sales, but it was a good thing to do. But always be true, and I think that goes for whatever you're including in your game design, whether that's race, color, sexuality, gender. Why, and is it integral to the story? And if it's done with honesty, and if it's something outside of your own personal culture or someone in the studio's culture, have someone from that culture in there to advise, to check box, to say, actually this is like a little bit offensive. But yeah, that surprised me. I've never heard that before.
Maybe a
I can. Maybe because people would think I would hit them if they said that to me. Oh no, there's nothing offensive to mention on this talk. It's all good. One more question.
So you mentioned that you're a Nordic speaker from Aberdeenshire. So how did the rock himself?
Tully Nesel, Kane Afford why? Fuse your dues. But I'm also fluent in Mandarin Chinese, so no. Yeah.
So, if you're working on a game and want to include a character from a certain culture, like an intersection of cultures, are there any rules of thumb for like how specific you should be when seeking out a person or people to advise them?
So I was at Proto Play, and I was talking to one of the studios there that I was judging the Pro Play, and someone had made a game, and she turns around and goes, "Yes, well, I'm half Chinese and half white, and so it's really hard for me to get people that represent my culture to play this game." I'm like, well, you're in luck because my son is half Chinese and not half American, but half Scottish. But it's really hard. Like if I wanted to find a half Chinese, half Scottish person that wasn't my son to play a game, to judge it, then it becomes more difficult if you're being really, really into the woodwork of it all. But I mean, when I was working on the genome character, no one remember that because I don't think I was allowed to say it. I was born on the West Coast, but I've grown up in Aberdeenshire, and so I can talk to life on the West Coast, Glasgow, but how authentic is my experience when literally I grew up on the hill surrounded by cows? It's slightly different in Glasgow. There's not so many, a lot less trees, a lot less hills. So how authentic is that feedback? How authentic is that experience? Because I do cultural, my PhD was the use of immersive gamescapes to preserve Indigenous languages, cultures, and traditions. I have done a lot of research, and when I come into cultural sensitivity roles, I do research to make sure, and I make sure I am asking the right people. So I was checking with friends from Glasgow, particularly because this character was in the punk scene, which, I don't know if you can tell, so am I. I was able to speak to that side of things. Honestly, a lot of the time, it's best not to homogenize. So if you have a character who is American Indian or First Nations, yeah, that's not the same people. American Indian, there's so many different tribes. There's so many different nations in Turtle Island, Canada. So it's not just, oh, you are this. There's many different areas of that. And so I would say in that respect, try and find someone from that region, from that tribe, from that nation. If you can't find, then why are you making that character from that? If you have someone else who is of a similar vein, well then, is it integral that they are Métis when they could be Anishinaabe? Like, what difference does it make to your game? If it's integral to the narrative and the story, then you need to work out why that is and make sure you've got someone from that culture representing. Same in Scotland, if you've got someone from Dundee, don't get a Fifer to be the advisor, or vice versa. Yeah.